The force-content distinction is a cornerstone of much of contemporary logic and philosophy of language. In fact, it's so important that Gottlob Frege, sometimes called the father of modern logic, said it was one of his most important discoveries, one of his three most important logical discoveries. Here's how it works. Now, I'm here in Belgium, but suppose that you're here with me and you say, "You're in France." And before I can correct you and say, "No, I'm not," I'm beginning to say so, you say, "If you're in Paris." Okay, well now the game has changed. You're not claiming that I'm in France anymore. In fact, you're also not claiming that I'm in Paris. But the meaning of both is the same. Either you're in France or you're in France if you're in Paris. So what's preserved across these, what we just called meaning, is what's often called the content. And what's added on in the case where you just say you're in France without adding the conditional is called force or assertive force. In the case of assertion, what you're doing is you're putting forward something as though it were true. Now, so far we've been focusing on assertive force, but actually there are various kinds of force, as you can see in the following. Are you in Paris? Or go be in Paris. These are sometimes called the interrogative and imperative versions of force. Really, it's a matter of the three different acts of stating something is true, assertion, asking a question, interrogation or interrogative, and telling someone to do something, the imperative. But in general, the one that people spend the most time on and get the most excited about in the secondary literature is assertion, committing oneself to saying something that's true or, as the case may be, false. In fact, Frege was so keen to emphasize this that he devised a special symbol to show when assertion was at play, which looks like this. You can compare it to the question mark for questions or the exclamation mark for imperatives, with the exception that it goes at the front rather than at the end. We'll see more about how this assertion sign works in a later video on Frege's Begriffsschrift or concept notation. Now, this distinction is also mirrored on the level of mind. There, the difference is between judgment, which corresponds to the verbal act of assertion, that is to say, thinking of something as true, and entertainment, sort of imagining what it would be like if it were true. Entertainment is what I'm doing when I say, what would it be like if I were in Paris? I'm not committing myself to the truth of it. I'm not judging it as true. I'm just kind of imagining it. So again, it's assertion made on the level of speech and judgment made on the level of mind. Now, out of assertion or judgment versus entertainment or non-assertive speech, you might wonder if one is in some sense primary. Do we first entertain a thought and then judge it to be true? Or do we judge it and then kind of remove something via entertainment? And if you read Frege, you can see that he kind of has this sort of indifference view. The content is indifferent to assertion. So I call this the toggle view. Maybe it comes with assertion, maybe it doesn't matter. More recently, Gilbert Ryle has defended the view that judgment is in some sense primary, that entertainment is a kind of more complex operation, entertainment or make-believe. This is in his book, The Concept of Mind. And more recently than that, a colleague of mine, Peter Hanks, has defended the view in a book called Propositional Content that propositions come with assertive force by default, which is later canceled in contexts like conditionals or reductio proof. I like to think of Hanks's view in terms of a kill switch. Assertion is on until special circumstances shut it off. In contrast, Frege's view is like a toggle switch. It can flip on and off, it doesn't have a default. Now, at the outset of the video, I said that Frege considered this one of his most important discoveries, but in fact, it's much older than that. A version of it is already present in medieval logicians like Buridan, Abelard, and Avicenna. And in contrast with the Fregean tradition, Abelard recognizes two additional kinds of force, what we might call force. These are optative and vocative. Optative is present when we say something like, "If only I were in Paris." Vocative is something like, "Oh, beaux who are in Paris." It's usually in the second person, and it's a little trickier to do in English than in Latin. So what do you think? Are there 3 kinds of force, or 5, or even more? Let me know in the comments. And if you're a toggler or a kill switcher, tell me why. As always, thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by the FWO. For details, see the description.